Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We're in the Gospel of John, chapter 13, verses 21 through 30. We're at the Last Supper. Jesus has washed the feet of all his disciples, right? All 12 of them. And after this, he says that one of them is going to betray him. And right before this, he says part of the reason why is because he doesn't accept that he's sent from the Father. And after Jesus says this, it says he was troubled in his spirit. And he testifies, I tell you, one of you is going to betray me. And I want you to think about, what's a worse feeling than being betrayed by somebody you trusted? People that you love and care for, to have them stab you in the back, right? We need to remember, that Jesus invested in Judas. When John writes, this is the disciple, the one that Jesus loved, that was a rhetorical device, really, so that every reader would understand themselves to be one loved by Jesus. Judas was one of those who was loved by Jesus. And yet, Judas betrays him. Now, the disciples are staring at each other at a loss, like, oh my gosh, what is happening here, right? And Simon Peter asks, John, to ask Jesus, who is it? And it's sort of more gossipy than like, how are we going to solve this problem, right? And Jesus knows that this betrayal, that all of this is triggering the march to Golgotha and to the empty grave, right? All of this triggers the cross and the resurrection. And this is his last meal on earth, right? It's not enjoyable. This is not the send-off probably that he would have wanted, but he knows it's the send-off he's going to get. And asks, Peter's like, what does he mean? Who's going to do this? And he says, it's the one that I give this piece of bread to. Now, that's a communion image. And I want you to think about that for a second. That the one who takes the bread from Jesus will betray him. I hope that really shakes you in your heart. Because we think about how we struggle in our faith, right? Judas allowed Satan to push his pressure point. Satan always finds your weak point. For Judas, it was greed, it was money. And it really is a chilling moment when he says that the one to whom I give this bread, because Judas exchanges Jesus for his greed, right? And for Satan. And I think about how brokenhearted they all must have been, because it was one he considered a brother. And it says that when Judas takes the bread, that's when Satan enters him, because he's completed the deal in that moment. And Jesus knows not to trust men, right? We've heard that before, because he knows that men are in bondage to sin. And so Jesus puts his faith in God, even though that will lead to the cross. And so he says, what you're going to do, go do quickly. Pull the Band-Aid. So I just want to encourage you to think about, where are you being pressured to give up on Jesus? Cling to him instead in his word. Thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.